Is Denver really a playoff contender? What's the real deal with the Timberwolves? Why are the Raptors considered second behind the Celtics? The only question left is, say it with me, you win. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown podcast / live show. As always, I am joined by Dave Dufour at Dave Dufour NBA, and it's been a long time, a reunion show, if you will. So, Dave, can you hear us? Are you there?
I am, and I don't think I'm frozen, which is awesome.
I know. We finally have some updates and some new things to work with on the tech side. So everything comes in loud and clear and beautiful sounding and looking. So you look better than ever.
Yeah, I did notice on the Periscope stream that my camera is so zoomed in you can't really see my face. So I backed out so everyone can see that my office, despite living in San Antonio since the middle of May, is still a mess. So it'll get there by the time the season starts, I hope.
You think so? So it's been May, June, July, August. It's like 4 months. You think that sometime in the next 3 weeks you're going to be able to do what you couldn't do in 4 months?
Well, you know what? This is the longest stretch I've been home since we moved. I think I've been home 10 days now. How crazy is that, you know? So, yeah, this is like the longest stretch that I've actually been in San Antonio.
Well, that's almost as crazy as the swag you can now get, or merch, if you will, over at teespring.com with B-Ball Breakdown. We have T-shirts up there. If you want to be a friend of the Breakdown, head over there and get your Friend of the Breakdown T-shirt. We have some designs. They're really cool. People have been digging it. I got a sticker today in the mail for my daughter's computer. She's going to love. So you can get stickers, mugs, T-shirts, all sorts of stuff, and really cool designs. So head over there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Let all your friends know that you are in and a friend of the Breakdown. Dave, I think we probably have to have a special shirt that's like best friend of the Breakdown. But for you, I don't even know if that counts. I think best friend is probably not even strong enough. It's got to be something like, I don't know. What would you think? Part of the...
I don't know. Hetero life mate.
There you go.
That's what we got to go with. Something like that.
Hetero Breakdown. So... Well, we want to answer some of your questions out there. We have a bunch of you guys out here watching and joining us, so thank you for heading over here on a random Thursday afternoon in the middle of the offseason, which not a lot's been going on recently. You want to do a half an hour discussion on Devin Booker?
No.
Yeah,
no,
I
don't. Although I will say, it does suck that he's missing this training camp and possibly the start of the season. I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to do this year. He had a great season last year before the injury stuff kind of popped up on him. And then, they added Trevor Ariza. They got DeAndre Ayton. This team is actually really interesting now. I don't think they're going to be a good team necessarily, but I think that they could be, the 10th best team in the West this year, maybe.
Wow.
I've said that they had an outside shot of maybe competing for like the 8th seed. But, that would require all kinds of crazy stuff to happen. But I think that they're going to at least be interesting, more fun. Igor Kokoshkov, we're going to get to see, some of the stuff he did in the Eurobasket last year with Slovenia. How much of that will translate? How much of it will he even use in Phoenix? So I was really looking forward to it, and I hope that this surgery doesn't keep him out long. Although I will say, have they said if there's going to be a second surgery?
Oh, I have not seen that, but that's not good.
Well, I just saw on his Instagram, it was like surgery 1 was over. So my hope is that this is a very temporary speed bump on what should be a more fun season. Phoenix just, they've had a terrible run since 2012. Is that right? They've been really, really bad. So, I would love to see them kind of in the mix.
Sure. And then, we can add this to the conspiracy pod we'll do. Let's see if we can do that before the season starts. But, he didn't, it's hard to break. It's when you break your hand, a lot of times it's because you punch somebody. And I'm wondering
if
there's
his wrist.
Oh, no. Devin Booker broke his hand, though.
Yeah, but the surgery they did was the wrist surgery.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, I have to study this because all I heard was the hand, and if it is the hand, you got to wonder what exactly is going on. And if I'm asking around and people are saying, maybe he punched somebody or not, I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever come out, but there's certainly a lot of stories like that. Was it Kevin Love doing knuckle push-ups and he broke his hand? Right? Is that
yeah.
That's the story. And who tripped over the bag?
It was a hand surgery. My bad.
Okay.
Who tripped over a bag? I don't know.
I think Boozer.
Baseball always has the craziest ones.
Oh yeah.
Baseball is like the guy fell down the stairs, cut himself cooking.
Wait. But we've had that in the NBA too. Ron Artest fell down the stairs.
Right, he did fall down the stairs.
Kobe was cleaning out his garage. Right, like there's a lot of stuff there, and none of it makes sense to me. And usually you do find out eventually, but some of these stuff no one's ever really spilled. So we'll have to go and do some research and see what we can find out.
For any young players out there that might be listening or watching, don't punch people if you're a basketball player. I'm not saying that that's what happened with Devin Booker, and most likely it didn't. But if you are in an altercation, go learn jujitsu and choke them out. Don't punch, because those are your money makers.
Right. Well, also if you're in some sort of like concert pianist, profession, yeah, don't do that either. It's not good. It's not a good
look.
Throw
elbows. Don't throw punches. Like,
there you go. And our friend of the breakdown, we'll call him a friend of the breakdown because he's always on here. Ron Koffa gives me compliments on my hair. Thank you. It's been maybe a little more than 6 months since I've cut it. And if you were listening to this as a podcast, by the way, you should make sure to head over on Twitter and follow us, because we'll do live shows a lot, and you can actually see us recording. And it's a riveting video, it really is.
Yeah. Just like this.
Yeah, right. So we have some questions that are coming in, and make sure you ask some questions right now over on Twitter or in the comments on the Periscope comment section, and give us some hearts. I'm gonna see some hearts. I give myself hearts all the time. I love it. And let's go to the questions. Dave, what do we have first?
From Peter Hunter on Twitter, is Denver a playoff team in the West? And this is, we could probably talk 30 minutes just about this question.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, what's your short answer that's like 10 seconds long?
They should be.
Okay.
That's it, right? So they'll have Millsap healthy hopefully all season. Last year they just missed the playoffs. They lost basically a play-in game to miss the playoffs. I think they're going to be better. You got another year of development for Jamal Murray and Gary Harris and Jokic. I do think that they're going to be better this year. If Michael Porter Jr. is going to give them anything, that'd be amazing.
He's not ready for the start of the season, right?
Well, probably not. And my inclination is that he winds up missing the whole year, but that's fine. They didn't draft him for that. They got him because of the value at the pick, right? They didn't get him to come in and contribute. He's a guy who, if he had been healthy, would have probably been the first or second pick, no worse than third. So, and he's great. I saw him at Hoop Summit 2 years ago, and man, he was fantastic, just electric, really good athlete, can really, really shoot, and he's 6'10". So, that always helps, being tall, it's important.
Wait, are you sure that he really, really can shoot?
Yeah, he can really shoot.
Okay. Because I feel like I was looking at some of the footage and was, just a little bit concerned about some stuff.
You can't watch the stuff from Missouri because, he just wasn't healthy. And so I actually think he got bad advice by coming back and playing at the end of the season. He did himself no favors. You're better off having, like a lot of mystery surrounding you than to show up and look unhealthy.
Right.
Dante Exum, he got drafted really high because no one had seen him. And I think that's smart. I'd be hiding these guys as much as possible. Oh, there's buzz. He's going top 5. Shut it down. Right. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's sort of what happens in AAU as well. As you start to get up there in the rankings, you don't want to compete as much and hurt that ranking.
You start avoiding teams that are good.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit. But anyway, long story short, Denver, I think they should be a playoff team. A lot of teams in the West got better. Denver is one of them, though.
Yeah.
And I do think they're trending up.
And certainly we know that with Paul Millsap, they are a playoff team, without question. He doesn't go down for any amount of time. They make the playoffs, I think, for sure. And again, it just leads you to have to figure out, okay, they're getting in. I think that's pretty safe to say. Everyone wants to say the Lakers are getting in. And the Lakers are getting in anyway just because if they're behind, if they're down 3 games with 4 games to go, you can guarantee every good player on the other team's fouling out in the third quarter or whatever they're going to do to get him in. So if that's 2 teams that are moving up, it's not even okay, that's reasonable, but it's not, because who are the 2 that are going to go down?
Well, I think Portland stands out to me.
Okay.
They've been so healthy, and it's hard to believe they can maintain this run of health. It's fantastic, and knock on wood, if I had any around here, I never want to root for anyone to get hurt, so I'm not saying that, but I just I feel like they've just been so lucky the last few years, and they are outperforming their numbers quite a bit. So I think Portland is a candidate to drop out, and then I'd worry about Minnesota. Oklahoma City is going to be better this year. Robertson's going to be back and healthy, and they were very good, especially right around the time Robertson went down. They sort of figured things out. Utah is going to be better. I think Utah, there's an argument to be made. Utah is probably last year was probably third best team in the league, maybe fourth behind the Cavs. They might be the second best team in the West now because Ariza and Mbamute left Houston. So, I think that's going to be really tough. And Minnesota, I don't know. There's a lot of discord coming out about Jimmy Butler and sort of all of the young guys. And then they just add Luol Deng, which I hope Luol Deng can still play because, he's been a good player for most of his career, health problems aside, but it seems like Tom Thibodeau is sort of doubling down on the 2011 Bulls rather than looking forward at the 2018, 2019 Timberwolves and what they actually need to do.
Totally. And looking forward is a key component to being a GM. It's also a key component to your vision. And if you have contact lenses, you know how difficult it can be to get replacements. Until now. Simple Contacts has created the most convenient way to renew your contact lens prescription. Check out how easy it is. Take their 5-minute vision test online. It'll be reviewed by a licensed doctor, and they'll write the prescription and reorder your contacts. Simple Contacts has all the brands and types of lenses you're familiar with, so you never have to shop around, and they've gotten a 5-star rating in the App Store over 4,500 times. I watch my wife scramble every time she runs out of contacts, but no more. We'll be renewing with a few taps on her phone from now on, and it will save us money. While the vision test is only $20 and their lens prices are unbeatable and shipping free, I've got an even better offer for you, sports fans. You get $20 off your first order of contacts when you visit simplecontacts.com/CoachNick20 or just enter my code CoachNick20 at checkout. Their app is really well designed. You save time and money by avoiding the doctor's office, and you'll save even more with my code CoachNick20 at checkout. This isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, and their eye test checks that your current prescription still helps you see 20/20 and will renew that prescription. They won't write completely new prescriptions or examine eye health. But once you use Simple Contacts, you'll understand why it's vision care for the 21st century. I think that the Timberwolves have a problem on two different fronts. I think one is they don't really – I don't think they like being coached by Thibodeau the way he does it. I just think that's an issue.
We talked about this a lot last year. There's a lot of evidence that suggests that the game is sort of passed him by. He might be more of an assistant guy. We also have talked about that. Yeah. But defensively, he's doing the same stuff he was doing 7 years ago, and the league has changed so much. All of his pre-rotation and icing every possession and all this stuff. He doesn't have the same personnel. It's not Joakim Noah,
right?
Back there backing up these guys, these guards. It's Karl Anthony Towns. He's not nearly the defender. We've kind of blasted him a little bit for going for the big play, the stats and stuff like that, rather than playing positional. But a good coach can work around that. And Karl Anthony Towns is a smart player and he's a great athlete. So you would think that a good coach would figure out a way to make this guy passable on defense. But right now, he's one of the worst defensive centers in the league. Yeah,
almost like someone made a video on it last year. And they also, I think this is also Thibs' last chance. This is probably if they don't make the playoffs, or they're like if they're 10th, 11th come February, I wouldn't be surprised if his seat gets so hot that he's gone. But also the dynamic between Jimmy Butler and Wiggins, I think that's an issue that can't get solved either, short of a trade. So I feel like that's going to be something they're going to have to make a look and see. The problem is Wiggins? Does he have any value? Is he tradable?
I think he is. He's young and he can score and
But his contract.
It's a lot, but come on, not it doesn't preclude him from being traded. We've seen worse contracts traded.
True.
In history. So I think that the more likely guy to go isn't Wiggins. I think that Butler is the more likely guy to go. You got to think long term, right? Butler's a free agent next summer. And like you said, this may be Thibodeau's kind of last chance there. This is year 3 of a 5-year deal. If they were going to cut bait, it would probably be after the season. Although if things are terrible, you could even see a scenario where they let him go in the middle of the year. I doubt it though. I think Butler, his free agency next summer is super interesting. Teams are going to be throwing offers at the Timberwolves, especially if they're bad out of the gate. If they start out 5-10, let's say, if they're not good from the jump, I can envision a scenario where we see Jimmy Butler traded by New Year's. It really is. Because he's going to be a free agent. He's likely going to walk, especially if Tom Thibodeau is not going to be around. They need to get something for him if they're not going to make the playoff. If they're not going to make the playoffs. I think even if they're just not going to be very good, if you're not competing for second round of the playoffs with Jimmy Butler, you might want to just consider punting and trying to get some pieces in return.
From the coach's perspective and the winning standpoint, you trade Wiggins first, and you would want to keep Butler. But I understand the fact that if he leaves or if the coach is gone, he's going to leave. So that you're right. There's an issue there with asset management. I get it, but I would trade Wiggins way before Butler. But that's why I'm not a GM.
If basketball was only played on the basketball court, you're absolutely right.
Fair enough. Good
phrasing. In the NBA, it's played a lot on paper.
And let's give a shout out to let's see here, C Bunty. I'm not sure if that's how you're supposed to say it, CEA Bunty. So she asks, he or she, can't tell who it is, I think it's a she, asks which teams in the West fall out of the playoffs from last season. So we started into that conversation before I even saw that question. So she was actually ahead of us. Now we thought you named one team. You thought Portland's going to drop out. I don't think you named. Oh, and then Minnesota could be the other one.
Minnesota is possible. Right. The truth is, it could be any number of teams depending on health, right? Yeah. We saw the difference in the Jazz with Rudy Gobert and without Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. Right? Without Rudy Gobert, they were not making the playoffs. With Rudy Gobert, they were potentially like a 55-win team.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think the margins are so slim in the NBA. And, the rosters are small and you only play 5 guys at a time. And this is why every single year you could put an asterisk next to the title and you say, well, this guy got injured and that team had an easy run to the playoff or easy run to the title.
Right.
And so I just think that the most likely scenario is that someone's going to get hurt and that's going to trigger, who makes the playoffs, who misses the playoffs. Yeah. I still am not convinced that the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. And I think if they do, they're like 7 or 8. As currently constructed, if you're putting a gun to my head and you're saying, look at that roster, knowing these players like you do, where would you choose them to finish? I'd say 7 tops, and that's with all the respect going to LeBron. That's LeBron carrying a roster that won 35 games last year to 47 or whatever, 48 that it might take to make the playoffs.
Well, not making the playoffs is kind of like waiting in that huge line all night long outside your local sneaker shop, hoping to get the latest and greatest gym shoe before they sell out. I'm here to tell you about a much better way to get the hottest new sneakers as they're just hitting the shelves. StockX is a revolutionary new marketplace for buying or selling 100% authentic sneakers, streetwear, watches, and handbags. Here's the cool part about it. StockX uses the same principles as the stock market to make your purchases by giving you real-time market data for intelligent buying and selling. You'll see exactly how much an item has sold in the past and what it's selling for now. Best of all, StockX has removed the risk from buying and selling online. Total anonymity between buyer and seller. You'll never have to deal directly with a random buyer or seller again. StockX has experts that verify every item, making sure everything you get is 100% authentic. Visit StockX.com/Coach Nick, and you'll see what an incredible platform this is. That's StockX.com/Coach Nick. Now you know. We have a good question here that's been asked a little while ago from Tiff. Tiff Tripp, at Tiff Tripp, she asks, I think it's another woman. It's hard to tell, but it certainly looks that way. How do you think the Celtics can best utilize the Jason, Jalen, Gordon combination, keeping with Stevens' positionless approach? And that's a great question because you have a lot of these sort of similar size, not redundancy, but certainly similar skilled players. You want to tackle that first?
Sure. I think it's a great question, but it's an easy one to answer. And the truth is you play them together a lot. I mean, those are three guys that can comfortably guard 2 through 4, I believe, in the modern NBA. You know, like if you're playing against Utah and you got Derek Favors out there, well, maybe you're gonna run your big lineup and have Horford and Baines. But remember, they don't even play Favors and Gobert together that much, and that's just one scenario, right? But those three together, you've got quite a bit of shooting, you've got a fair amount of ball handling, especially with Tatum and Hayward, and playmaking. And I think that, you know, we talk about this quite a bit. The most effective thing you can have in the league is not just space, but it's playmaking to capitalize on that space. It's shooting to capitalize on that space. And you got three guys that can actually shoot threes and, you know, get to the basket. Jaylen Brown out of those three is probably the least polished as a ball handler, but going in a straight line with space and with those guys around him, I think he's going to be able to make plays. And, you know, another year of development and all this sort of stuff. So I think it's a good problem to have for Boston. Hey, we got three, one all-star wing for sure, and two guys that look like they're going to be all-stars at some point in their career. How do we play all these guys together? And the truth is, you just do it, and it's going to be fun. I'm really pumped to watch those guys play. Sad we were robbed of it last year.
Yeah, there's no question that was sad. And also the idea that when you play those three together, generally they're going to end up, I think Jaylen Brown usually gets the little guy guarding him, and they go to him in the post, and he's very good down there.
Good in the post.
And frankly, it's pretty easy, not easy to be good, but it's easier to be good when your guy guarding you is 4 or 5 inches shorter than you. So although I will say this, I walked by him during summer league, and he was shorter than I thought he was. He just seems like he's a 6'8", 6'9", when he's really like 6'5 and a half, 6'6" tops. Nonetheless, that's what makes it unfair. Because I think we could probably assume Tatum is better than Jaylen Brown.
Can we?
Well, I mean, I think that's where everyone thinks that's where it's going.
Sure.
But I will say that what makes them unfair is Jaylen Brown, because it's that third guy now who's that plays that sort of Scottie Pippen position, and there's just not enough teams that have enough of those kind of athletes to defend him. That's what's going to make it really exciting to me, which also becomes a thing because I think everyone is on the Boston Celtics train, providing they stay healthy. But I don't know, man. I think that's really just giving an FU to Toronto. I think Toronto is right up there.
I kind of have. So I think Toronto and Boston are like 1A, 1B. I do think Gordon Hayward makes a huge difference, and Boston was very good last year. Even fitting all the new pieces that they had, they were very good. And I know Toronto was better last year, and they improved. They got Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. Shout out to my guy, Danny Green. Toronto is going to be a big problem. They are going to be very good. The East is going to be fun at the top. It's really going to be a lot of fun. And I think LeBron going to the Lakers, one of the underrated things somebody's talking about is, like, the East is going to be so much more fun to watch than the West. And the West is going to be a bloodbath. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But as far as the competition goes, especially among the top 4 or 5 teams, it's going to be pretty tight. I mean, I think that clearly the Raptors and the Celtics are kind of a good leap, like a good jump ahead of the Sixers and the Bucks. But it's not so far that you can't see the Sixers maybe making a move and catching up to sort of Boston and Toronto.
Dude, the Pacers, man.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So the Pacers are right there in that kind of 3 to 5 range. The Wizards might be better. Dwight might be okay.
Well, we have a question about Dwight from the Periscope comments from, it's RT-istic, retweetistic. I don't know what they're trying to say in that one, but whatever it is. He says, how much of an improvement with Dwight Howard will Dwight Howard be over Marcin Gortat in the pick and roll offense, if any? I don't know. I think Gortat is really skilled, and I think he's makes it hard. Good. And so I don't think that Dwight Howard moves a needle upward in that equation.
At all. So Marcin Gortat is one of the best screen setters in the league. Hands down. I mean, he just is. Yeah. He wasn't moved because of anything that happened on the court. He was moved because of the locker room issues. And you're going to move Gortat over John Wall. That's just how it is.
Locker room issues, but it can't possibly be between Gortat and other. He's got to be a good teammate, right?
Well, yeah, but Gortat and Wall kind of didn't get along. I mean, this is I'm not breaking news here.
Okay. This
was known.
Okay.
I mean, go back and look at some of those interviews that Gortat was giving when Wall was out. and yeah, there were problems. So anyway, I mean, yes, Gortat's getting older, but I still think he moves better than Dwight right now, especially in the pick and roll. The other thing is Dwight's going to ask for like 10 to 12 post-ups a game. And he's just not any good at them. Right. And, you know, what you want him to do is to go set screens and roll to the rim. That's what you want. But he's just not going to do it enough, I think, to make a difference. And he's still going to rebound, and, you know, but his defense isn't what it used to be. He can't make up for mistakes. You know, if John Wall's going to kind of phone it in on defense this year, he's not going to, you know, Dwight Howard's not going to clean up his messes. You know, he just can't move well enough. So, you know, if this was Dwight Howard, you know, 2010, man, they'd be a monster. But it's not 2018, you know?
Yeah, I mean, especially because in the context of 2010, he was a LeBron killer. You know, his presence on the floor made LeBron a mortal, to say the least. So, yeah, he's not that same guy. And I guess it sounds like Scott Brooks is not going to be the guy who's going to tell him to get out of the post and not get those 8 to 10 touches down there. And that's too bad. It's you know, it is what it is. They'll probably get the same kind of production out of that position, I would imagine. But again, sometimes it's not the same, even though the numbers look the same.
My biggest concern is off the court, like the locker room stuff. You know, the last 5 locker rooms that Dwight has left have openly celebrated that he's gone.
Yeah,
that's right. Not great.
Ding dong.
Right, and the Wizards have had issues again, like we just talked about. You know, that's going to be Scotty Brooks's toughest job, is keeping the harmony in the locker room. You know, and you know, how do you deal with, like, listen, I love John Wall, but John Wall has kind of fallen off, and Bradley Beal has developed. I think Bradley Beal is their best player. So how do you deal with a scenario where your former best player has been usurped by a younger guy? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you got to balance that. And you know, to be fair to Beal needs a chance to blossom. And we saw that when Wall was out last year. So,
yeah,
you know, there's a lot of tricky dynamics at play there.
Right. And then I don't know if you remember, but how many times did I say that the Wizards should probably just break that whole thing up anyway? I was calling for it probably the exact same time last year, in the, you know what I mean, last August or September for sure. So that might have to happen anyway, especially if they start out slowly, you know, through the first month or two.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to, I don't know. That is going to be, I don't know. It's a good thing the Athletic opened their DC office. Let's just put it that way.
Now, and here's an interesting thing.
Let's report on.
Right. Well, let's go to our comments. We have some good questions here. Interestingly, You Die By Jumpers, who is a friend of the Breakdown, has been in a lot of conversation with us, asks, you think Dame is a trade candidate before the trade deadline if Portland is not top 9? Interestingly enough, there's the same question comes in right after that, written almost the same way, except with a smiley face, from Mir Mahade. So I don't know if they're, like, you know, somehow colluding together, but either way, let's get that question answered real quick. I say, geez, it's so hard to imagine they're going to trade him, but do you think they would even consider that if they're not in the hunt for the playoffs?
No, I think CJ would be the one to be moved if they were going to move one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't trade a Damian Lillard. You know, that's a franchise. That's like an all-time franchise player, you know. I mean, I'm not going to, maybe not to the same degree, but like the Warriors aren't trading Steph Curry.
Right. Yeah, I hear that exactly. And he means a lot to them for the community. So, yeah. Okay, right.
That's the face of the franchise. And you just can't, it's hard to come back from doing that.
Sure.
So I can't imagine it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the next question from Tony W. Miller out there, who's also a friend of the Breakdown, I believe. He asks, how much does Westbrook's injury hurt the Thunder if he's out all preseason?
You know, I think for chemistry concerns, it is an issue. Again, Russ, not the easiest guy to play next to. We saw last year Paul George kind of, you know, struggled a little bit, which is why you and I were both surprised when he came back. And then they're going to try to integrate Schroeder. So, and I believe that they want to have those guys play together some during the year. So it's going to be tricky, but you know, for Russ himself, it's probably fine. This was, you know, I'm sure it wasn't a huge surgery.
Well, that's the thing.
I asked another knee surgery, and that bothers me.
I asked one of my guys who's an expert about this, and if this is a new thing where they're doing sort of maintenance arthroscopic surgery, because it sounded strange to me. Now, again, the context is he's had a number of them. I know he's had them on both knees. The right knee, I can't remember if he's had more on the right than the left, but either way, It apparently is. Like, they go in there and they kind of clean it out and then maintenance, whatever. Yeah, I don't think it hurts them at all because he's such a vital part of their team that he doesn't necessarily need to break himself in or sort of get accustomed to things. So yeah, now the only thing that you're talking about is getting the Schroeder combination, which I think would be great because I feel like he is his best when he's a little bit more off ball anyway. So I would anticipate Schroeder having a great year if he gets a lot of minutes alongside Russ. And I think that the Thunder are going to surprise people. I mean, I don't think I'm crazy to say that they could be third.
No, not at all. I think they could be two.
Yeah, you know what?
Their ceiling is really, really high. And again, I think Paul George was not really great last year. He wasn't 100%. He had some issues, some health issues. He had some shooting problems, that you and I talked about a little bit as they were occurring. And I think that he's going to be better. Again, it's another year of playing with Russ and kind of learning how you do that because there is a learning curve there, especially for a guy like Paul George who came from Indiana where he had the ball in his hand a lot more. There's addition by subtraction because Carmelo Anthony's not there soaking up, 18 shots a game or whatever he took. And then you're going to have Robertson back and healthy. And so, I do think that their ceiling is the 2 seed, unless the Warriors are phoning it in. And I can envision a scenario where, they could win 58 games and possibly be the 1 seed because Russell Westbrook does increase your ceiling so much offensively. And then you've got these good defenders around him. And we haven't even mentioned Steven Adams, who, is a top 5 center probably. So, yeah, they're going to be really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm really irrationally exuberant on them. And by the way, Memphis, I think, also has a real shot at being really ruining someone else's season, basically.
I mean, if Conley's going to be healthy and be able to play 30 minutes a night, and same with Gasol, Jaren Jackson is going to walk in and just be incredible. Their issue, I mean, they still don't have shooting. This is kind of now going on like, I don't know, 8 years or something.
Do you think that's a coaching thing? Do you think that maybe the shooting coach?
Coaches. They've got different coaches. I think the players that they're getting just can't shoot.
Yeah, okay. And so you don't put like Chip Engelland. There's that notion that he's there. People get better. I don't know. Maybe they're lacking. Whoever they're hiring is not. Listen, I sound like I'm auditioning, but I'm saying like, what is there a thing where like maybe that's what it is, or are we in a situation at the NBA where you want a shooter, you're going to have to bring him in. You're never going to build a shooter. Is that possible?
Yeah. So, you and I talk a lot about shooting, and I don't know that by the time a guy gets to the league, you're going to take a non-shooter and make him into a shooter. You might be able to take a non-shooter and make him a guy who, like, let's say, call a non-shooter like a guy that's going to shoot 20% from 3. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can get that guy up to like 28%.
Okay.
But you're not going to take a 20% shooter and turn him into a 45% shooter. And they need some guys that can shoot 40 to 45% that can play the wing.
Okay.
So they need some 3-and-D guys. Like Danny Green would have been a great guy for them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He'd fit in perfectly, especially defensively.
He fit in perfectly anywhere, but Memphis really could have used him. So
yeah, fair enough. But we've seen evidence of guys who do get better and do shoot better across their careers, but it doesn't feel like it's overnight. It's usually over a gradual period of years, and as they get older, and that's what all they have to do is shoot because they're not as quick anymore, like the Jason Kidd thing. So fair enough. I like to think that it's possible, but you're right. It seems like there's overwhelming evidence.
It's rare.
Doesn't happen as much. Artistic, really quickly. I'm going to go with artistic because I don't know how else to say it. Can Bobby Portis finish as 6th man of the year? I mean, I don't think he's going to have numbers high enough that would get him in that conversation, right? A 6th man is generally like 18 points a game, right? And then
you got to score to do it. I don't know if he's going to do it. And then Chicago's going to also be really bad. I can't pronounce whatever this is, Swank or whatever in the Periscope chat. Ask what the best case scenario for Chicago is. To me, the best case scenario is they're one of the bottom 3 teams and have a shot at the number 1 seed. That's your best case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably how they want it.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way.
Yeah. I'm looking for any other questions as I'm scrolling down on Twitter. Trip Zero is happy to see you back talking ball again. Thanks, Trip. Let's see. Oh, now I'm getting some suggestions. By the way, I just want to say I went to Foot Locker yesterday to buy some shoes because I have wide feet and Nike doesn't make a lot of wide shoes. And the dude at the Nike store insisted that there were no like wide shoes. They're all the same. And I'm like, look at my shoe, the one I'm wearing right now. And I held it up to the one he was showing me. It was like 1/4 of an inch thinner. He goes, oh no, it's inside the shoe is what you got to measure. And I'm like, what are you telling me that somehow in my shoe I'm not using a quarter of that width somehow because the inside is like just, it was so inane. And of course I went online and I found, and I was complaining during that while I was there on Twitter, so people were really helpful. And if I could find it, I want to thank the guy who's like straightening me out, got me the link to the original shoes I already had, found me how I can get them on Eastbay. Thank you, Eastbay. Soon to be a sponsor, hopefully. Anyway, but like, what was up with that? What's wrong with Foot Locker? Has it always been that bad? Oh, let me say this. So then he shows me like 4 or 5 pairs of shoes. I'm walking around, they're not good, and he disappears. Doesn't come back.
No.
It's a big story. He doesn't come back, and I'm waiting for like 5 minutes. I'm like, finally, I just left.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really buy many shoes retail. I normally buy them online now.
Really? I never really considered it, but maybe I can. You don't get burned with the size or the wrong shoe. It works for you.
Yeah, I mean, normally I can order kind of a similar size. And I also, I wind up buying a lot of the same, like my casual shoes, kind of the same shoe in different colors or something like that. Basketball shoes I do have to try on just because they're built on different lasts. Like I can't wear Kobe's because I have wide feet, and
yeah,
those are some skinny shoes. But I know that I can wear like LeBron's, so I can just safely buy those. So
right, and then I used to have that rule: I won't spend more than $100 on a pair of shoes, and I guess it's inflation or whatever. You almost can't do that. It's insane, even for like running shoes to walk around in. It's terrible.
Man, you got to go to Ross.
Oh, but not for Nikes though.
They have Nikes.
Oh, all right. I get. But they sell like the original 1979 running shoes.
No, they sell everything, man. Like,
all right.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, and for anybody listening, Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls.
All right.
Go there. Just like if I'm looking to get like last year's model of a shoe because I don't really care, then that's where I go.
All right, cool.
Like my hiking, trail running shoes, man. I got them. I bought those for like $40, and I think the retail they're like $120. So
wow. Well, there you go. You always get some basketball knowledge, and you might even get some shopping knowledge too while you're here. While you come for the basketball.
This is peak off-season content right here. Like we're gearing up for training camp and all that stuff. So like we gotta talk about whatever's topical right now.
Yeah, well, let's grab. We have a couple questions real quick as we wrap this up. So, Mikkel, G.I. Joe, in a really creative way of writing that out. How good do you think the Bucks will be? Can Budenholzer get the most out of Bledsoe? So, yeah, I think that they're going to be good. They have Lopez. I think people have forgotten about that, and that's going to change the dynamic. But I think in a good way. So. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever gonna get the most out of Bledsoe. They'll get what they get. He's really frustrating for me to watch, but they could be. We talked about that. They're in that third slot ish.
I think they're. I mean, I think that they're. I'd put them a tier below the Sixers, but that's only because we haven't seen them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I need to see him. Giannis is probably going to be an MVP candidate, and in particular, if he's carrying them up to like a top 2 seed. Yeah, he may be the favorite. I don't look at the Vegas odds because I don't gamble, but I want to see what Bud can do to unleash Giannis even more. And I think what we're going to wind up seeing is more Giannis at the 5, in particular closing games. Unless Brook Lopez really is just amazing there, which he's going to be able to space the floor, so they're going to be able to play 4 shooters around Giannis, or at least 4 theoretical shooters around Giannis, and but without going small. So, and I think the other thing I want to see, how much development has Thon Maker made? Has he gotten better? Is he going to be a playable guy? And can Middleton stay healthy? That's another question. But Bledsoe, I just don't know that he moves the needle for them at all in a positive way. He hasn't defended in a few years now, and he's not really a good shooter. So it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if he finishes the season there.
Another good point, which is, that's going to be, he's sort of the wandering player who seems to never gets a home. But we got one last question as we wrap this up. What do you say? We have it from Drew Fav. He asks, is there a competition between Austin Rivers and Tomas Satoransky, or does Rivers have that job? And then I kind of want to say, ask no one ever. But it's still an interesting question. I would think that Satoransky should have the upper hand, and I think he's better.
Yeah, Satoransky was really good for them last year, and I think he should be like the 6th man / spot starter. But I can envision the scenario where Rivers usurps him, just because that's, I don't know. He kind of looks like a guy who does a lot, if that makes sense. Satoransky does some stuff that doesn't necessarily show up in the box score.
Yeah. All right.
Rivers, like, you can feel his impact on the game. You can see it. It's palpable.
Rivers? Wait.
Yeah. Oh. Good and bad. I don't mean
okay.
I just mean you see it. So, but I think Satoransky should, and I bet they'll play together a lot. And having Austin Rivers, I mean, that's another guy that's playable. He's not, he's not a non-player. So, that's someone I completely forgot that he was on the Wizards.
Yeah, right. Well, that was interesting. That's where Gortat went to the Clippers. Yeah. So interesting. Yeah, exactly. There'll be some interesting looks like that. I mean, DeAndre Jordan is now in Dallas. We forgot about that too, and that changes Dallas a little bit. But I don't think they even want to win at this point this year anyway. But it's interesting. What if Doncic is everything and more, and then what if Dennis Smith is improved, and then what if DeAndre Jordan is the best version of himself, and you have Rick Carlisle, and you got Wes Matthews. Crap! Now I'm irrationally exuberant.
And what if Dirk flies to Germany and gets PR beat in his whole body?
Yeah, with the steroids as well mixed in there. Yeah. Right? Like all of a sudden you're like, geez, could they compete for the 8th spot? I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, we'll save that conversation again on a random Thursday afternoon. We had a lot of people in this conversation. Great questions, Dave. It's great to have you back in the conversation and talking with me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
You sound so excited about it too.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, like the Stephen Wright. Thanks.
It's very good to be back.
Right. No matter how hot it is in a room, it's always room temperature. Okay. Well, great show. Thank you all for joining us live. If you missed a little bit of it or all of it or a part of it and you want to hear it again, or if you want to hear the whole thing again, even if you listened to the whole thing or watched it, then you can fire it up on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. It'll be up there, I don't know, in a few hours or less. So thanks for joining us. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, not a channel, we're a conversation. You win. Are you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.